Cooper City resident Richard Kirshen looks back at the photos. Pictures of the moments burned in his mind decades after fighting in a conflict he had hoped to avoid.
I got a draft notice in the mail because I was working at the time. I was going to college and not carrying enough hours. And I told my sister, I said, forget this. I says, I'm not going into the Army. I'll end up in Vietnam sure as hell, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go join the Navy today, tell Mom and Dad I'll be home later.
Richard enlisted and started his service in the Navy in February of 1967.
I was stationed on a ship home ported at the Navy base in Yokosuka, Japan. It was the USS Banner, AGER-1, and it was purportedly an environmental research ship. That was its cover, but it was actually an electronics spy ship.
After almost a year, he grew tired of being on a spy ship. When a new opportunity came, he dove in.
The yeoman came in and said, look at this, what do you think of this? And he showed me a piece of paper saying that the Navy was looking for divers, for volunteers to go to dive school. And I said, sign me up right now.
With some help, Richard shipped out to the Philippines for dive school. A few weeks later, Richard was touching down in Vietnam.
And this Army sergeant, all dressed up, got on. He looked open casket sharp, is like what I like to call him. He got on, and there were 90 of us on the plane, and he looked at us, and in a southern drawl, he just said, y'all welcome to the Republic of Vietnam. As you exit the plane, please run in a zigzag pattern across the tarmac. We are under attack at this time. And we're all looking at each other like, wow, we've been here like 45 seconds, and people are already shooting at us. And we did that, and we ran across the tarmac.
Richard would be stationed in Cam Ranh Bay, where he would take on dozens of diving missions.
Mostly to blow up boats that were sunk, and they were impeding river traffic, so they would send divers in to blow those boats up.
But his time below water would be brought to a halt when the Navy identified a greater need.
And they said, we need people on the river. And I said, why? And they went, well, the attrition rate there is much higher than for divers. And I went, well, then I don't want to go. And I went anyway, and I remember I got down to the river, and I was joking around. I met this lieutenant that was head of the river division, and he said, you ever drive a boat before, son? And just jokingly, I looked at him and I went, hey, I'm from Miami. And he went, good, you're a boat captain. And that's how I got to be a boat captain in the Mekong Delta.
On the Mekong Delta is where Richard found himself at the center of the Vietnam War. He recounts the first time he came under attack as explosives were hurled at his boat.
And another one went, and I reached over and I went, John, what the hell was that? And he went, it's the fucking war, man. And then we all got up and we went to what's called GQ, or General Quarters, and we just started shooting back like crazy. And I went to all ahead full, and I picked up my radio and I called for air support to come in.
That would be far from the last time Richard and his different crews would be faced with life or death. In this photo, Richard is all smiles, but all these years later, the sight of the hole pierced in the metal of his gunboat triggers another memory.
The most exhilarating feeling that a man can feel, in spite of what you might think that is to be shot at without result. And they make like a buzzing noise when they go by you, or a ping when they hit the metal of your boat. And that noise is with you forever.
He also recounted stories about gun battles that could have had very different results for he and the men under his watch.
And we were in a firefight. And when it was over, I was driving the boat and I was shooting my M79. And when it was over, I looked, and this guy, John Pate, he was laying on the deck in front of the pilot house, and it was in a circle of blood. There was blood everywhere, and I saw a big hole in his back. And I said, oh my God, this freaking guy is dead. And I went up, and I flashed to every war movie you ever saw, the scene where the guy goes and he picks a guy up and his head is resting in his arm, and he's still conscious, and he looks at me and he goes, Kirshen, can you do me a favor? And I thought, oh, here it comes. Tell my mother I loved her, tell my girlfriend, whatever. And he looks at me and he goes, you got a camera? And I go, what? I'm almost in tears here. And I go, what are you talking about? And he sits up, and evidently the bullet that hit him didn't go into him, but it went parallel to his back and just took a chunk of skin out. It didn't enter his body. But I couldn't tell that because of all the blood that was there. And he sits up and he goes, get a picture of this. And so I go, God damn it. I said, do you know what you just did to me, man? I says, I was crying here. Thinking about having to write your mother a letter or whatever, however they respond to that. And so I went and got his camera and mine. I still have the picture, by the way. And I got him like this. We cleaned him up. And he's like smiling at me with this hole in his back about this big. And I got a picture of him doing that. But no one ever died on my boat. I was very lucky because the attrition rate on the rivers was very, very high. A lot of guys got killed there and maimed. And it was a very, very dangerous job.
A job that Richard would eventually leave, finishing his final 6 months in the Navy back at Cameron Bay and completing more than 50 other dives. With his duty fulfilled, Richard returned to South Florida and started a business that many may not assume for a combat veteran.
I owned an interior design business on Miami Beach for 37 years. And I did a lot of celebrity homes. My favorite client of all time, Sofia Vergara, did her house. I did the Bee Gees' house, two of the brothers. I did Jimmy Page's house. Matter of fact, he signed one of my album covers for me. I did a lot of celebrity work, and it was a good job. It was a good living for all those years. Put my kids through college, bought our house.
Richard also enjoys writing. He is a published author with 5 books to his credit and more on the way. One of his books looking back at his time in combat and providing a glimpse of what he experienced returning to Vietnam decades later while on vacation with his wife.
From her and our travels, I always liked to write. And I'd never written a book. And basically, I wrote this book for my family. I wanted them to know what I experienced over there.